please. Preparing live stream. Okay, and let me go to my transcoder so I can see all your beautiful faces. There we everybody wave hello. Quickly, wave hello to LinkedIn, wave hello twice to Facebook, wave hello to YouTube, and wave hello virtually to the Voice America Business Channel. Jordan, hit it. Let's go.
All right, have a great show.
Thank you.
Where does yesterday's future, which is already here, meet today's future, which is about to happen, and tomorrow's future, which could be just minutes away? Welcome to Technology Revolution, the future of now, where host Bonnie D. Graham asks savvy futurists for their predictions about the tech-driven trends that are shaping our future right now. Here's your host, who will take us into the future of now, Bonnie D. Graham.
Thank you to the wonderful voice who introduces me, Bonnie D. in the house, packed house. Look at this. If you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, watching us, I have some of my favorite people in the whole world. Don't tell anybody else, please. I love all my guests, but anyway, I wanted to open the show by singing or not a song from 1957. Sherry, you going to help me sing this one?
No, I will not sing.
I'm going to pretend, and now I can't play the music because it's, I don't know, if 70 years ago, it's still copyrighted, but here's the song. Get a job, get a job. Okay, that's it. Right. Steve, that was great. I didn't know you did bass. Thank you. Bob might have been singing. I couldn't tell. Okay, and Gabby doesn't even, too young, doesn't even know the song.
What is this?
What is this? Well, we're talking about the future of HR and AI today. And we know people want to talk about the negatives and the guardrails and the ethics and all that. We're going to talk about, as always, Bob knows me very well, and so does Sherry, the positive, the opportunities, the benefits. So I have a little poem to read introducing the topic. And to my guests, you all have your own section in the poem. So wave furiously when I get to you so everybody knows who you are. Like they can't read the screen. Forget about that. Here we go. Okay. Welcome to Technology Revolution, the Future of Now show with host Bonnie D and her Scarlett mic in the live streaming glow. Am I glowing? The future of HR and AI is her spotlight today, welcoming 5, count them, HR futurists who all have a lot to say. AI could revolutionize the HR domain, targeting the right talent, streamlining job posting strain. Oh my. Scanning resumes faster, top candidates in sight, making scheduling a breeze, interviews designed just right. Onboarding seamless, performance tracked with ease, monitoring attendance. AI's got this. Yes, please. Here we go. Sherry Ann, we're at the end. Sherry Ann Meyer, wave hello, leads HR with humanistic care. In 27 countries, she has simplified tech with flair, making complex topics easy to pursue. Her mission? Ensure the workforce benefits too. Welcome back, Sherry. Always lovely to see you.
I like that.
Good. I rent the poems out so all of you know. And Steve, I have a group rate, so we'll talk after if you like yours. Bob Ficken is with us. He has taught for decades. AI is his domain. He helps businesses thrive from startups to fame. He guides owners with AI to lead the way, helping HR evolve in this digital day. Bob, he liked it. Good. He's heard so many of these. I'm glad. Chiara Bersano is with us, adaptable and bright. Look adaptable there. Oh, look at her. In HR tech, she's a guiding light with skills like a Swiss Army knife in her hand. Put that down. She re-envisions HR in a data-driven land. Welcome, Chiara. Just met you 18 minutes ago, and I'm thrilled to know you already. Dr. Gabby Burlacu. Did I get it right?
Yes,
A researcher keen, exploring cultures and talents in the evolving scene. From inclusive workplaces to talent's new role, Gabby's insights help shape HR's future goal. I hope you like. She liked it. Good. And let's get to Dr. Steve Hunt is back. Where have you been all my life? It's only been about 2 years. With his techno-psychologist mind, blending AI with psychology, leaving none behind. With a legacy in tech, Steve predicts what's to come for HR's future. His work has just begun. He likes it.
It's like Dr. Seuss.
Yeah,
Well,
it is.
hold on. I'll tell you in a second. In this exciting realm where futures gleam, tech and HR are shaping what we hope will be a bright dream. Stick around, listen and see as Bonnie D, that's me, explores AI's boundless sea. So do we give a thumbs up to the poem?
Yeah,
Everybody like
thumbs
it?
up.
My
Yeah.
favorite
Okay.
was the Swiss Army knife.
I,
That was
I
good.
know.
Yeah, and the
I
fact
know.
that Chara has a knife right there. She's packing all the
Right.
time.
Well, but instead I have only a pair of scissors.
We may never get to the topic today with this kind of a group, but here's the deal. I have a full transparency about the poem. I take all of your bios, and you each sent me 1,000 characters, about 250 to 300 words, and I pile them into ChatGPT. And I say, here's the opening. I have several shows I do. Here's the opening. This is the show title. This is the episode. This is me and my Scarlett mic. And now please give me 4 lines for each of my guests. And I give it one stream of text. I keep saying dash and I add another bio, dash and another bio. I click the submit button. Bob, you can't answer this because you've done it before, and Sherry, you have. So Steve, Chiara, and Gabby, how many minutes does it take for ChatGPT to come back with the core of that poem? I edit it afterwards, but how long does it take? Gabby, Steve, Chiara, any minutes?
Seconds. It's
Oh,
seconds.
well, we didn't get to seconds
Yeah.
yet. Anybody think it's minutes? Nope.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Put up your hands. How many seconds?
I like 2.
Oh, my goodness. Okay. Well, it used to be 3.5, Gabby, and
Mhm.
Chiara and Steve, it used to be 2. Now it's down to about 1.35 seconds.
Wow.
I barely click the return key, and the poem is there. Then I take it, I put it into a Word document, and I work on it. I go back to each of your bios and I make sure it is covering the highlights. So it's human plus AI. And I just want you to know that. Bob, what are you going to say?
Well, Bonnie had got one thing wrong.
What?
It's not AI's should change the AR domain. AI will change the
There
HR domain.
you go. There you go. It will. Well, that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm glad you all enjoyed
Yes.
the poem. So now let's do real bios. Here's the pecking order exactly as I read. Sherry first. Can I just call you Sherry? I know you as Sherry.
Oh, yeah, you can just call me Sherry.
And you're dressed very formally today, so it could be Sherry Ann. I'll
I'm
back.
not, though. I have my jeans on
Well,
underneath.
we don't know that, Sherry Ann. So
You do
Sher-
now.
it'll be Sherry and then Bob and then Chiara and Gabby and Steve. And just so you know, I love you all equally, but somebody had to be first, second, third, fourth, and fifth. And that's just the way I decided to do it. So there you go. I love all my children equally. Okay, Sherry, putting you on speaker view. Let's take about 2 minutes each because we want to get to those predictions quickly. So Sherry, fill us in. What have you been up to? Give everybody, in case, Sherry, I ran the audienceometer. There are 14.73 people in the world who don't remember you. Can everybody go tisk tisk? Okay, there, we've tisk tisk. Okay, go ahead,
Well,
Sherry.
I think the poem said it best. I'm an HR tech expert. I'm currently working as a corporate communications head for Wipro and Rising, which I love. My passion has always been to try to make things simpler in the tech space and more human. And part of that is what I call dumbing down the communications so that the average person can understand. So those are my passions, and that's what I continue to do. Just had another grandchild. But I don't know how that happens because I'm so young.
Well, you started when you were 12 like I did,
did.
Sherry. So
I
we know it. It happens along the way. Thank you. Welcome back. Bob Ficken is with us. Just moved from somewhere to somewhere in his new house. Couldn't get the camera to work on his PC. Bob, the phone works great and the audio is good. So why don't you fill us in on what you've been up to professionally? Bob Ficken, welcome back.
Well, I'm glad you clarified professionally. You had me worried for a second. So I've been teaching for almost 30 years now, leadership, ethics, entrepreneurship, and a few other things. And my favorite probably being leadership, because just like HR and just like everything else we talk about, AI is definitely starting to change leadership. And that's going to be interesting, perhaps another show. I'm also a business coach, but my main thing the last year or so is just really trying to be an AI advocate and convince colleges, universities, and businesses to adopt AI. Because, boy, it's not like you can ban it anymore. It's here. It's here to stay.
It is here to
Absolutely.
stay.
Bob sends me very interesting snippets of articles all the time on email, on text, on the interesting things AI is doing. And you're absolutely right. We can't avoid it. And my guess is that people are using it without even knowing that either it is, right, Steve? Definitely AI
yeah.
or fueled by, powered by, influenced by, enabled by AI, but they're still putting, especially in the creative genres, people are putting up, and I'll tell you a story later. Thank you, Bob. Good to see you. We're seeing the underside of your hat. You want to tip it down so we can see there you there. Okay, well, that's not going to work either. Will, that's perfect.
Oh, there you go.
Very Mr. Perfect, Bob. Chiara Bersano, I just met you. Sherry Ann invited you, and we'd love to know about you. So take the full 3 minutes and give us an overview. And what's with that Swiss Army knife? Chiara, go
Oh,
ahead.
40 years, 30 years of a career in 3 minutes. I have to 10 years per minute. Let's go. I've been doing HR tech for a long time. I love it. I find it's one of the most amazing part of technology in general, but also it touches so closely to people, and the combination is fantastic. I've been sitting in multiple situations, both at customers owning very large systems, and I love the fact I can be in almost any country. I moved around the world. I started from Italy, Switzerland, Germany, the US, West Coast, East Coast, plus a number of other locations depending on project and different times, which has been absolutely fabulous. Some of my best memories are in Curacao, but in many other places as well, Paris. What I do now, I actually, well, with a couple of my main topics right now are, well, of course, AI. The fact that AI is not new, exists since a long time. I keep repeating that to anybody who wants to listen to me. It's actually something that is not only generative AI, which is actually just as big as that in the area of AI. There is so much more, and so much more relevant, in fact. And it's here. It's here. We need to use it. We need to leverage it. But to leverage it, we need to have data. And we need to make sure that the data, the AI leverage, is relevant and is there. So these are my two main topics right now that I try to communicate internally, externally, to whomever will want to listen to me. Swiss Army knife? Yes, of course. I did so many different things. I've been part of product. I've been part of doing explaining to customers, value advisory, consultancy as a partner, as an SIP person, and as essentially customers or other things. So, yeah. I think pretty much. You tell me what to do, I'll do it.
Thank you very much. Pleasure to meet you, and thank you for joining us. Gabby, it's been a while, a couple of years. You did some of my Game Changer shows when I was at SAP years ago, and I was so happy to see your name come up, and you said the same thing about me. So welcome back. And by the way, Gabby, this show was originally my original Thought Leadership Roundtable show for SAP Coffee Break with Game Changers that I started in 2011. And when I left SAP, no comment about the HR call that fateful Thursday, Steve. When I left SAP, I converted it to Technology Revolution, the Future of Now. So this is the son, daughter, or grandchild of that show. Gabby, welcome back. Catch us up. What have you been up to? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Bonnie. You are the very definition of adaptable. So that is amazing to see. So I'm Gabby Burlacu. I am based in Portland, Oregon. I am a longtime workforce researcher. Right now, I'm with the Upwork Research Institute. Before that, I was with Accenture. Before that, I was with SAP for almost a decade. And in my applied research, I am focused on understanding how work is changing, but also being able to understand what are the changes we've been talking about for 15 years that we're still talking about versus what has actually come to pass? What is really changing in the experience of work and how we manage work? So AI is one of those things that is actually, I believe, changing. And there's a lot of opportunity there to myth bust and say, what is it really and what is it not? So that is the perspective that I bring today. And thanks so much for having me.
We are absolutely delighted. Are you an author too, Gabby? Do I remember you were writing novels?
I've written a thing or two. No, I would love to write a novel. Mostly what I've published has been, research and academic. But, if a novel should happen in the future, I wouldn't turn it down.
My novel is almost done. I have to go back and finish
Oh.
putting it together. We'll talk later.
Mhm.
Thank you. Welcome back. Steve Hunt, how have you been? And Steve, you sent me your new picture is of you with, I think it's a pith helmet, standing in a jungle in a very fancy suit with a little tiny Steve Hunt in the middle. And I managed to get a headshot out of that, but I'm happy to see you are live and well and not there. So Steve, bring us up to date. What have you been up
Yeah,
to?
that picture was taken. I had the honor of officiating my nephew's wedding in Mexico, and that was me coming out of the jungle, and my niece took the picture. And I just sort of loved it because my son said I looked like I worked for the United Fruit Company. If you know the history of that. So, no, Steve Hunt, I have been, I kind of came about that phrase, techno-psychologist, to try to capture what my career has been about, which has been looking at how technology is changing the nature of work, but taking into account the one thing about work that isn't changing, which is the fundamental psychology of people. That's like the one constant of work, Are there differences in values and attitudes at a surface level based on when you were born and stuff like that? Yeah, to some degree, but they tend to be way overstated. The fundamental psychology of people, what makes us happy, healthy, all those things, it doesn't change. And so my work is I work with lots of companies. I worked with hundreds of companies and looking at how to use technology to rethink work and leverage that. I also work a lot with technology companies. Currently, I am on several advisory boards. I have a fractional role. I feel very hip. Gabby, you'd appreciate this given what you do. As a scientist in residence for a company called Crosscheck that does quality of hire measurement, which is critical to machine learning because machine learning only works if you have something to predict. And we're not trying to predict whether their resume is good. We're trying to predict whether people are effective on the job. So that's fascinating, but also just working with lots of different companies and organizations and writing and stuff like that.
Thank you, Fractional Steve. Nice to meet you.
Very small fraction.
I'm delighted that we're getting a fraction of you for the show. By the way, LinkedIn has failed to stream, but we are live on YouTube, just so you know. And I will put the YouTube link in later and people will be able to watch it. I have just sent 5 emergency messages to all the lovely people on the staff of Restream saying, LinkedIn is failing. Why? So we will find out. Anyway,
Bonnie, I often say that technology is about false hopes and expectations. That's what
I know, but I've been using it for streaming for about 3 years and it's only failed twice. And this is the second time in a week. What's interesting is
writing that down.
They promised me they had a workaround. They said they were aware of the problem. So it's not us. So anyway, so we will, just so people say, I thought you were going to live stream on LinkedIn. Well, we tried. Okay, let's go to the part of the show where I've asked each of you to send me, please, a fictional quote from a movie or TV character or a song lyric that technically literally has nothing to do with our topic. It's not Johnny Paycheck's song or the one I sang by the Silhouettes. I tried to hum along. Steve, thanks for the bass again. It's a quote from something, and you're going to relate it to our topic in your own words. Let's make this 2 minutes apiece so we can get to those predictions already. So here we go. Sherry has sent a quote from Moana, voiced by Auli Cravalho. I hope I'm saying that right. From the 2016, thank you, from the 2016 American animated musical fantasy adventure film. That's a mouthful. And yes, so what we want to know is it's produced by Walt Disney Animation Studios in ancient Polynesia. Moana, strong-willed daughter of a chief of a coastal village, not an interior village, a coastal village, is chosen by the ocean itself, to reunite a mystical relic with the goddess Te Fiti. When a blight strikes her island, Moana sails in search of Maui, a legendary demigod, in hopes of returning the relic to whatever I've just pronounced, saving her people. The plot is original, but it takes inspiration from myths. And here is the quote Sherry has picked. 2 minutes to our topic. Sometimes our strengths lie beneath the surface, far beneath in some cases. Oh, Sherry, tell us true. Go ahead.
Well, that definitely was Moana, wondering who she was going to be, what she was going to do, what she was going to change. But I chose that because my hope for the future is that we make it a lot easier for candidates and recruiters to find each other and find the perfect fit. And I think the trouble we all have is knowing our own strengths and being able to articulate them, knowing how to brag enough. And, for recruiters to dig into that resume, you get one shot at it, right? dig into that resume and really find the person beneath it. So it lies beneath.
Lies beneath. That's a good point about resumes, and we'll probably get into it later in some of the predictions. But I will tell you, even for my radio show in the past year or two, I've been seeing resumes of my guests, not anybody here, that are so similar in the level of shall we say, outstanding, extraordinary, the nth degree of descriptions of what they've achieved. Everybody is award winning now. Everybody is the only one who's ever done anything, and the words are beginning to look like they're cookie cutter. And I can tell, and I go back to some of these people and say, no, this isn't a real resume. Tell me who's the person behind all this wonderful media stuff.
You know, Bonnie, the same thing could be applied to HR technology company marketing sites.
Thank you very much. And we will get into it. I'm already predicting you're going to all come back for a part 2 of the show because we have way too much to talk about in an hour. Let's go to Bob. Bob has picked a 3-word quote. I love the short ones here from Billy Bean, played by Brad Pitt. It's from Moneyball, of course, 2011 American biographical sports drama film. Bean and AGM Peter Brand, played by Jonah Hill from the Oakland A's, faced with the franchise's limited budget, oh no, for players, build a team of undervalued talent by taking a sophisticated sabermetric approach to scouting and analyzing players. There you go. Here's the quote: adapt or die. Bob, 2 minutes. I think he just explained it with a look, but try to Bob, here's what my daughter says to her puppies. Use your words. Okay, go ahead, Bob.
So it won't matter to anyone that's not an Oakland A's fan, but one quick sideline. My daughter and I were actually at the A's 20th win when they set the record.
Wow.
So adapt or die, it's probably not that grave, but it's pretty close. I mean, I'm sure that the rest of the team here see the same thing I do, which is you go out and you try to talk to people about AI and they're all frightened to death. You know, they don't understand it. They don't make the time to understand it. They're all worried about the jobs it's going to cut. And I try to reassure them, you know, I mean, the fact is AI is going to create about 200 to 400,000 more jobs than it's going to eliminate. You know, there's a positive note for you, you know, but people are still, they are unknowing to the point where if you don't grab onto AI pretty quickly and use it to leverage the best you can get out of your organization, it's going to be imposed upon you by your suppliers and everyone you deal with. So why not use it to create the kind of company you want?
Adapt or die. Well put. When I was doing a show for SAP, which I did for 11 years, produced and hosted Financial Excellence with Game Changers, we talked about the office of the CFO being laggards in just the word technology, automation, processes. Can you imagine? That was what we were talking about in 2012, 2013, 2014, that they were behind the curve, adapt or die. And now we've shifted from the generic word of technology to specifically AI. Thank you, Bob. Great quote. Let's move on. Chiara Bersano has picked a quote from Wanda Maximoff, aka Scarlet Witch. Anybody who says Scarlet in their name, I feel attributed to. Played by Elizabeth Olsen. Of course, it's WandaVision with a capital W and a capital V. 2021 TV miniseries on the Disney Plus streaming series. This is from Season 1, Episode 8, called Previously On, which aired on February 26, 2021, based on the Marvel character comics. In Salem, 1693, Agatha Harkness is put on trial by a coven of witches led by her mother, for practicing dark magic as they attempt to kill her. Oh, no, again. She absorbs their magic and drains the life from them. We're going to leave it there. And in the present day, Wanda and her partner are going through visiting old TV tropes and all kinds of homages they're doing with real life. It looks like characters and sets and dress and everything. Here is the quote: change is an opportunity to redefine who you are. Chiara, talk to us. How'd you find this in 2 minutes? What does this mean?
How did I find it? AI?
No, how did you find the quote? How did you find the quote?
You ask ChatGPT if you're in doubt, right?
That's true.
I missed
That's
that
true,
one. Go ahead.
Kiara.
Frank, I'm
Ba-dum-bum.
being totally transparent. I don't play games. I tell you how it is. However, I thought it was extremely fitting. I found that WandaVision is such a spoof of different tropes and different things, jumping from one time to another, going from the 50s and advancing a decade in every episode, which is mind-blowing from the point of view of the series. Now, on the other hand, the quote was totally speaking to me. While I was listening to you, Bonnie, thinking of, change is something that happens. You can be a victim or you can grab it and run with that. And essentially, running and running with it is what gives you really the opportunity in it. Then when they say a door closing means that the window is opening. Well, yes, but you also still need to be ready to jump through the window sometime. And
Is this like running with a Swiss Army knife, Kiara?
Yes, because the Swiss Army knife closes, so you don't risk harming yourself. You see?
Interesting.
Be ready, eager, and going. And that's what I found fantastic in the quote.
Thank you very much. Very interesting. I think we're all on a similar theme here. Gabby has picked a quote from Rear Admiral Chester Hammer Kane, played by Ed Harris, Top Gun Maverick 2022 action drama. And those are the only two genres that are hyphenated, action-drama. Everything else is separate. Dedicated to the late director Tony Scott, who didn't live long enough to see the movie. Tom Cruise, Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, blah, blah, blah. Maverick confronts his past while training younger Top Gun graduates, including his deceased best friend Nick's son, Rooster. And he promises Nick's dying wife that Rooster will never fly a dangerous mission. He pushes the hypersonic Dark Star and he ruins everything. So here we go. The quote is from Rear Admiral. Let me read the whole scene here. These planes you've been testing, Captain, one day sooner or later, they won't need pilots at all. Pilots that need to sleep, eat, take a piss. Pilots that disobey orders. All you did was buy some time for those men out there. The future, here's the quote, the future is coming and you're not in it. Oh, Gabby, go ahead.
Wow.
This is heavy. I hope you don't mind. I did the whole scene here, but it was wonderful. Go ahead, Gabby.
Well, and I can picture it in my head, and I want to personally apologize to Tom Cruise, who's obviously listening, because I thought this movie was going to be terrible, and it was awesome. It was so good. And this scene for me struck out in particular, and I know that you asked us to have an unrelated quote, and I cheated a little bit because this is very related to what we're talking about. And what I find really interesting about this is that in an action-packed movie where there's actual bad guys and then there's bad guys within the main cast of character that end up being good guys, I guess I shouldn't give too much away. In a movie full of villains, they managed to also sneak in the villain of automation and AI and this idea that somebody can be such an expert in their craft, but that they'll ultimately become obsolete. And what I think is really interesting as well, I think that was by design because it really mirrors some of the anxieties that people are feeling around AI and these types of tools. But then in the end, and please cover your ears if you haven't seen this, what perseveres is the humanness, the bravado, the ability to apply expertise. Tom Cruise ends up doing things that the machines could never do. And I think that sort of human victory over the AI tools was also very much by design and very much something that audiences needed to see.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Very interesting. Yes, you didn't cheat at all. You picked a wonderful quote, Gabby. It's fine. Steve Hunt has picked we have a song quote, a song lyric. Yeah. Steve always wanting to stand out from the crowd here. And that bass on Get a Job was wonderful. This is from the song Guitars, Cadillacs, 1986 song written and recorded by country music artist Dwight Yoakam. And Larry Flick on Billboard magazine said, walking bass, twangy guitar, fiddle, and Yoakam's voice make it a pure hillbilly delight. Here's where the song comes from. The song plays in the bar scene in the 1981 sci-fi action film Terminator 2 Judgment Day, when the T-800 walks into a biker bar looking for clothes to wear and transportation. But the scene has been omitted from a lot of the TV airings, Steve. They wouldn't show it on TV. Wow. Interesting. The song was also featured in the film Dutch in 1991 and in 2019 Terminator Dark Fate as an homage to its presence in Terminator 2 when it was cut out. Here is the line from the song. I'd like to thank you for teaching me new ways to be cruel. Oh, Steve, what are we talking about here?
The full
ahead.
line is actually, girl, I'd like to thank you for teaching me new ways to be cruel. But no, I picked this one because technology, why it can really make our lives better, it can also be an amazing source of frustration and depression. I always talk about, have you ever yelled at your computer or phone before? And and it allows it both in terms of multiple ways. So I think on a positive side, yes, technology, it can make us feel more efficient, more effective. It can be used to make us feel more appreciated and valued. It can make our work meaningful, but it can also be flipped around the other way. The technology can make us frustrated and angry. There's research on this that literally raises our blood pressure. It can make you feel like depressed and worthless because you're just managed as a line on a spreadsheet as opposed to being an actual person. And it can make your work seem pointless if it says, I don't know, I'm just filling in these things repetitively. So I think when we look at the impact of technology, I think we really need to be aware of it's not all necessarily good. And I think, that point earlier, yes, it is creating new jobs, but some of the jobs it's creating are arguably not as good as the jobs it's eliminating, or at least our society doesn't economically value them. It's creating a lot of service jobs, but our society does not value historically service work, which is a whole larger topic. So
a whole larger topic, and we can dabble in that on part 2. I'm predicting you're all going to come back. Let's go to our predictions now. I'm going to pick one from each of you. I'll put it in the chat. Sherry Ann, I just put one for you. Sorry about the other oops. I'm still working with the Restream team. It looks like we are on LinkedIn now, but the encoder isn't showing me anything. So this is a challenging day. So here we are. Sherry Ann, prediction
Technology, it makes you angry.
yeah, there you go.
I know. Well, I think I need a VA to do all of this stuff while I'm hosting and moderating and taking notes here. I know. And I'm doing a show on the future of VAs, virtual assistants and AI in 2 weeks. Yes, I am. And I have some real VAs coming in, personal assistants. So here we go. AI, here's Sherry's prediction. AI has more obvious opportunities for HR to improve paring down and choosing resumes. But it's entirely possible for AI to grow capabilities to choose CEOs. Isn't that interesting? Let's hone in on that. Sherry Ann, and you sent me a link to an article in the New York Times on this. So why don't you give us your prediction? Take 2 minutes, and then if anybody wants to say anything, wiggle one of your polite fingers, not the middle one, and I will call you for a 1-minute commentary. Steve, behave yourself. Go ahead, Sherry.
Well, I think it's interesting because we've all feared AI taking over jobs at lower levels, right? And that may be happening, but no one has ever thought, what a turnaround, right? No one has really talked about, we could hire a CEO with this, because what are the characteristics you're looking for in a CEO can be very easily defined. They need to be good communicators. They need to make decisions. They need to make tough decisions. And who better to make a dispassionate decision than someone you picked as the candidate through AI, right? So I think it's totally possible to find a CEO that way. And what I like about that idea is that it might disrupt the good old boy network. And me with the good old boy network, can't get your friends in the door anymore to be the CEO. We now have an AI tool to do that.
The question is, are we going to have an AI CEO? That's one of the questions we may not get to cover on this, but there are companies.
I think there is a company that is doing that
in Japan,
virtual CEO, of course, in Japan, that is doing that.
And they named her a woman. I think her name is Kang Tu, and she has been voted the CEO of the year, I believe, in one of the surveys.
The virtual CEO of the year.
Yes. Virtually virtual. Yes, absolutely. Anybody have any comments for what Sherry was talking about? Anybody? Are we good? Oh my goodness gracious. We're going to move on then. Thank you, Bob Ficken. I put in your prediction number 2 in the chat for you. AI will reduce employee exit turnover, because AI can track workforce data faster and more accurately. AI will be able to pinpoint the reason. That wasn't a kiss. That was a pinpoint. The reason each exited employee has for leaving, then recommend how to mitigate those reasons quickly, reducing the turnover. Oh, Bob, this is interesting for attrition, for leaving, for losing talent, for losing the investment of people you already hired and trained and cultured into your company. Bob, talk to us.
Uh-oh, he's on mute.
Bob, you're muted, love. Unmute. Click your unmute on your. There we go. Okay, Bob, you're up.
So I think the interesting thing is the simple part would be if AI takes all the jobs, there won't be any employee turnover anymore.
Well, maybe the robots will quit, Bob.
But yeah, I think one of the problems we have in HR right now is when employees leave, typically when they're at the exit interview stage, all they want to say is, thank you very much for everything you did for me, blah, 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 right? Because they don't want to burn a bridge. They don't know yet if they're going to do well in their new career and they might have to come back. So what I found in my CHRO career was that unless you contact them 6 months later, then you might have a sliver of a hope of getting a real answer from them about why they left. I mean, it's no mystery. We know that according to work done by Dr. John Sullivan, who updates it every year or two, the main reason people leave is because of conflict with their immediate manager, right? Your immediate manager can make life wonderful or can make it a living hell, depending on how with their management style and all that. But what AI will do is it'll be able to pinpoint that. It'll be able to stay in touch with employees when they leave. It'll be able to stay in contact with them. It can check up on them months later and get better information as to why they actually left. And then it'll be able to track that data, look for commonalities, and put in place steps to actually mitigate it. And I think all the turnover will start to go down. The other reason it'll go down is simply numbers. I mean, between all of us, right, we know that birth rates have slowed dramatically. There's only about 1.7 per couple the last 10 years compared to 3.8 in the baby boomer group. So zero population growth is going to require that we use AI to fill a lot of these roles.
Interesting.
I hadn't heard that proposition before. Who just said interesting? Was that who said that?
That was me. That was me.
Go ahead,
That's an
comment.
interesting observation. Yeah.
Yeah, interesting. I would like to see if Bob, if AI stays in touch with the employees and gets the real reason, if enough employees leave and the answer is pinpointing the same manager as being the cause, what would happen to the employability of that manager to stay in the company?
What would happen is AI would tell the leadership team at the organization exactly what skills the manager lacked. And then AI could actually develop the training courses for that manager to complete, monitor their progress in them, make sure they complete them according to the schedule assigned. And then either that manager improves or the manager gets let go.
That's where I was heading would it be the manager's exit interview about how they didn't want to follow protocol, or they didn't appreciate the culture of the company, or they didn't like the people who are being hired for their team by somebody else, maybe. There could be all kinds of feeding into. Yeah, absolutely. There could be all kinds of reasons. Steve, go.
Yeah, I think, one, I think example I was talking earlier, I'm doing quality of hire stuff. Actually, that's one of the benefits is being able to tell managers that should never be allowed to interview a candidate because they're systematically wrong on the people they choose. And so that's starting to happen. I would caution a little bit about trying to think we can reduce people down to formulas, which is what AI and machine learning is doing. Basically, it's a pattern recognition system. And there's a whole aspect of work, which is relationships. And one of the things that I talk about a lot when I talk about technology is one of the things that AI can never do is it can never care for another person. Caring fundamentally is defined as a human giving their life in the form of time and attention to another human to help them. It is an organic process. It cannot be done by technology unless AI starts dying, which I think, which is a whole different talking about Terminator. But so I think we need to be careful in how much we emphasize some of these things. Yes, we should use it, but at the end of the day, people want people to be responsible for decisions that affect their lives. That comes back to almost that new way to be cruel. I think I've seen a lot of companies go back with using AI as an excuse for restructuring. Oh, we're restructuring. Why AI? Well, did you change the jobs based on AI? No, we're just, it's no, they're not. It's a financial excuse. So I think we need to remember at the end of the day, going back to work is about humans and relationships. It's not, don't over rely on the technology.
Which always to me has been funny. HR stands for human resources.
Yeah.
Where's the human in there sometimes? And I'm not talking about the era of AI. I'm talking about the people
Mm-hmm.
HR and
Yeah.
the inhuman things that sometimes are done. And there's that word cruel, and that's a whole other conversation. Thank you. I'm going to move on. Chiara, I have put up your prediction. Gabby, I've got yours in for next. Chiara, let's talk about this. You say we are seeing AI generated job descriptions. Aha, being matched by AI generated cover letters and resumes. I think we will tire of that. This is Chiara talking, and we'll need to find alternative ways. This is interesting. Chiara, I'm putting you on speaker view. Go ahead, tell us.
Yes. Well, I have this science fiction vision about an AI talking to another AI, one putting out job description, the other one shooting back cover letters and resumes that are custom made for the specific things. And today, this is what is happening because we are using AI to create fantastic job description that fits to a T what the position is. I'm not sure of that, but let's assume. Let's guess that's how it works. And everybody, including myself, is actually going in. Actually, LinkedIn propose you automatically to rewrite and what are the points you should hit to actually make yourself more compelling. And is that really helping anybody? To some extent, I'm going back to what Steve was just saying now, and it made me think we actually have been focusing so much about how AI is not like people. We forgot to look about how people are not like AI and are not like robot. And what will make a great employee is not how he or she fulfill the skills, how they fit, but it's how they will talk. And it's not how they fit to a supposed corporate culture. Supposed. It's how they will communicate, how they will interact with their peers, with their managers, and even more so to the executive level. Are they able to interact? And then you have the whole discussion that is even different of deskless workers who will not even have where their success will be 100% on the communication. Yes, of course, about how they do their job, but also how they think of a nurse. It's how she manages the patient. It's not about how many diplomas she has. She needs the diplomas. Yes, that's a technicality though. So I think there will be a need to find an alternative way to assess even candidate, which is the most obvious use case that everybody's putting out. Candidates screening and stuff like that. Well, and what will be the alternative way? And I have the gut feeling that's going to be going back to some more human way to select people. We cannot use so many cut out.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. All the stories we all could tell about all of this, right?
Oh, yes.
I'm remembering all the jobs I've had and all the managers and the stories. Unbelievable. I was working for a company that's no longer in existence. It was a correspondent bank that was eventually shut down by the New York State Banking Department. Not my fault. I'd already gone. But I remember my manager was the vice president. And she decided that HR was going to take my annual review and put it in the round file. Those of you young people out there who don't know what that is, it's called a wastebasket or the trash or the garbage, if you want to talk French. And she told me, you're not going to get a review ever, ever, ever. You're never going to get a raise ever, ever, ever. And she redlined everything I wrote at 5:01 p.m. every day. I learned, a ton from her, but I couldn't wait to get out of there. 5 years and 17 days. I had a calendar that was counting the days till I got vested and I was out the door. But she took over HR and she told them what they could and couldn't do with all the employees. She ran HR into the ground and there was nothing anybody could do.
Well, HR is about human. We need to keep it about human, and you need to go back to some extent to human. We need to accelerate some things. Great.
Yep.
But the human part. Yeah.
When there's one human who takes over that human function, you're basically at the mercy of that person. And the whole company was. This wasn't a small company either. I'll tell stories later. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Chiara. Gabby, I'm looking at your prediction number 1. I put it in the chat for you. I'll read a little bit. Gabby says, point-in-time engagement surveys will become a thing of the past as AI helps HR to automate collection and analysis of large amounts of unstructured data. Whether employees are engaged in air quotes can now be determined through many different sources on an ongoing basis. Gabby, why don't you elucidate for us? Expand this, please.
Absolutely. And this is actually pretty similar to what Bob was saying, just kind of the positive spin or what you hope would happen prior to an exit interview, which is determining whether people are engaged. I have been doing this long enough that I have experienced the rise of the engagement survey and all the vendors that kind of purport to do this for organizations. And I think the biggest innovations in this space that I've seen in the last few years are maybe you don't have to do it just once a year. Maybe you can kind of pulse out engagement surveys at different points in time. And maybe you can access this data in a way that you could combine with other data sources. Like, does engagement actually drive, productivity, revenue, retention, those sorts of things? But I think what AI tools are going to enable is leapfrogging over these innovations, because all of the sudden, you've got the ability to pull together mass amounts of data that may be unstructured or structured differently and be able to draw conclusions. And as Steve mentioned, kind of notice patterns in ways that humans may not be able to quickly do. So the one caveat on this, though, is that I predict that we're going to see organizations get this wrong before we see them get it right, because the first thing we need to consider is that what a lot of these employee engagement survey vendors bring is validity. They've got valid measures of employee engagement. That is no small thing. You need to know whether you're actually measuring engagement or not. The other thing that they bring is the fact that the employee is aware that their engagement is being measured. So I think there's a way to take this too far and make it too big brother. There are probably things in my email or in my Teams or in my Slack messages that would indicate whether I'm engaged or not, but I don't necessarily want HR seeing that, drawing inferences about that, and taking action based on that. So we've got an uphill battle to really think about what sources of information are we going to use? How are we going to be really transparent about what we're doing? But if we can climb that hill, I think there's a lot of promise here for being able to use unstructured, passively created data to draw conclusions about how engaged our people are.
Very, very interesting. Don't some companies, Gabby, and everybody have chief happiness officers? Didn't we hear about that? Wasn't that what's the shoe company, Zapatos? What am I talking about? Zappos, yeah, they had a chief happy, and she wrote books about that. And we have companies that have mindfulness executives, mindfulness teachers, and they're trying to get people to learn to love what you do and to be invested on a in the moment type of a mindset rather than, oh crap, I have to go to work today. I know. Steve, any comments? You look very pensive, Steve. Dr.
Oh, no, I'm just a zillion things I'm thinking about. One is funny. It's funny when you have chief happiness officer and then they get rid of them. I would like to always happiness. It was important, but
it was. It used to be. The people in the company said we'd be happy if we didn't have a chief happiness officer. Thank you, Gabby. That was interesting. Steve, I'm going to go to your prediction where we have about 7-8 minutes left. Plenty of time, Steve. Don't worry about it. Here, Steve says, using AI for basic HR tasks like job descriptions, goal setting, and training recommendations will become as common as, no reference to Bob, using your phone to get driving directions or find a restaurant. The challenge will be how to use the technology for optimal value. Amen to that. Steve, talk about training recommendations and goal setting. How can AI help that in a meaningful way? That's what I'm interested in.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Well, I think first of all, you look at this, so much of I think that people are talking about AI and be freaked out about it. And this is going to what Chiara said. AI has been around for a long time, but then ChatGPT, in a brilliant marketing move, made people realize how far it had come super quickly. And we're like, oh my gosh. But imagine if like your iPhone had come out with the iPhone 11 in like 2 months instead of from nothing. We use this stuff like navigation tools and real pictures of the restaurants we're going to. We're like, oh, it's no big deal. It would have blown our freaking minds if this had come out all at once at one time. And so I think what we're seeing now is very, very quickly the whole thing about using basic for job descriptions, as Chiara pointed out, is becoming commoditized. Every tech vendor, they're all like, look, we can create job descriptions with AI. Now pretty soon it's like, can't, of course you can. Everyone can. Because this tool is just getting revolutionary. What we haven't really wrapped our heads around is okay, given that all of these sort of repetitive tasks are going to be infinitely more easy, how do we need to rethink? It's kind of like how you need to rethink how you travel when you have GPS. I remember talking to my nephew about how he traveled through Europe compared to how I traveled through Europe when I was 22. His whole approach was very different. He goes, I was back in the area of I'm aging myself, let's go Europe, where you'd have to like sit and plan everything out and this whole issue. And he just had a credit card and a phone, and he'd just show up and he had a little routine that was completely different about how he navigated it. I think so. And another point I'd say, well, what did I say HR should be thinking about? I think HR should be thinking about and challenging business leaders to think about what are the most important, truly human things we need. So I mentioned early caring. AI can never care for a person. If you're a company that depends on customer service, you better not take humans out of the loop with your customers. Yeah. What you need is to figure out how to get humans most effectively in the loop and make sure they're really good at being really good humans when they have that interaction. So that, and use AI to allow people to focus on that. I'm seeing that in like recruiting and other areas. How do we really leverage people more effectively? The other one is in making decisions about people. There's some interesting research Caitlin Sendra did, Gabby, I don't know if you saw that, on like people's attitudes to AI, and people don't like to be evaluated by machines.
Right.
And so, but we want machines. On the other hand, machines can make us better at evaluating people. But when it comes to evaluating people, how do we say, no, that's a person's responsibility. We want to make people really good at it, though, and engaging people. So I think really rethinking work from those perspectives, the two things that I don't think AI will ever replace: caring and evaluation. Because the ultimate, it's a human decision to like hire someone or let someone go. It's not a machine decision.
This is true. Gabby had a comment. I asked her to wiggle a finger. There you
I'm
go. Gabby, go. We have 2 minutes. 2 minutes.
Love
Go ahead.
that. And I totally agree. I will say one thing I see AI potentially doing is facilitating those things, though, because pattern recognition is its strong suit. Humans are great at pattern recognition until we're in kind of an emotional or sort of ego-driven situation. And one of the things I see AI possibly doing really well is helping aid in management or leadership coaching, because there are things we may not notice about ourselves and how we communicate. There's interpersonal interactions that we may not understand that we're seeing differently than maybe the person we're interacting with. And I think that tools, we're maybe a long way away from this, and we need people to be comfortable with using the tools in this way. But I think these tools can maybe pick out the patterns that help us start to change, start to care, and evaluate us to be better. So I think they don't have to be at odds, but I agree that to completely remove the human at this point in time does not make sense.
I appreciate the optimism. That's what we're here to talk about. I'm going to predict, as I said earlier, that you're all going to accept my invitation to come back for part 2. There's so much. And here's the deal. We have your bio and your picture. New quote. Yes, new quote. Have fun with that. And I will tell you which predictions you didn't use today, and you'll see where there were overlaps or duplications, and you'll each come up with 2 brand new predictions, if that's okay. And after we're off the air. And looks like we are live streaming, I think, on LinkedIn now. I was told to turn off and on the stream, and it messed up with everything. But I think we're there. So we're crossing fingers here. We are recording anyway. I just want to thank all of you. And Sherry, thank you for bringing Chiara, and for bringing Steve, and Steve for bringing Gabby, and me for bringing Bob. So that's how the party got put together. We have about a minute and a half. One sentence on where this is. We got 2 minutes. Thank you, Jordan. One sentence each, not with 15 semicolons and 5 dashes in it. One sentence each on your optimism for HR and AI. Stick with the good stuff. Sherry, one sentence, go.
You're not going to take people out of the equation at all, because then who will influence AI in the future?
There you go. Number 2, Bob, one sentence.
AI never forgets and humans do.
Thank you very much. Alexa does have, I'm sorry, Alexa, well, she knows me, but ChatGPT does have a profile on me for my radio shows, and I appreciate it. She does remember. Chiara, one sentence.
Keep the human in the loop. I think we're all with the human here.
There you go. Gabby, one sentence.
You're not implementing AI in a vacuum. The company's people are using it too. So make sure you're focused there.
It's like a mirror within a mirror, a play within a play, right? Steve, you get the last sentence, and then we have one quickie. Go ahead.
Work will increasingly cease to be either boring or repetitive.
Oh, I love that.
Oh, yay.
Okay,
Hopefully.
everybody, raise your index finger. On the count of three, you're going to join me in yelling no, no, no. I haven't told you what. Everybody, raise your finger. Come on, Chiara and Bob. We can see you sort of on your phone there. There we go. Gabby, finger up. On the count of three, you're going to join me in saying no, no, no. People say the future is already here, and we say, join me in this 1, 2, 3. No,
No,
no.
no,
Oh, you can do
no.
better than that. 1, 2, 3. No, no,
No,
no.
no, no.
No.
That's so much better. That's because, I hope you're having fun. That's because I had that sentence in mind and it was in the future and I said it and it's in the past. We're all doing our best to make it a much better, more human one, regardless of how AI gets incorporated into that, all kinds of words there. Bonnie D signing off. Don't go away. We have to take pictures, guests. Thank you, Jordan, at Voice America. Thank you to LinkedIn, sort of, kind of. You got half the show. Thank you to YouTube. Thank you to Facebook. And thank you to Voice America Business. Jordan, are we out?
All clear. Great show.